Good afternoon. Welcome to our little workshop on getting the news out there. I want to ask if we could start with prayer, with just a short prayer, because the best communicator is the Holy Spirit. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, thank you for bringing us all together at this conference, and we just pray that you would inspire us, all of us here, that we would all learn from each other, and that we would go back with new ideas to communicate your word in our parish and to our neighborhood and to all those that you want to reach through our ministries represented here today. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Amen. Holy Spirit. Amen.
So it's a challenge for us because we are at the tail end of a 3-day conference. There were already 4 workshops on communications. Just by raise of hands, I would like to know who did attend, anyone listening, by Eric, who's there. Okay, a few people. Parish Online 101, a few more. Parish Bulletin, and Unleashing Your Parish Geeks. Okay, so a mixture of that. So we'll make sure that we finish your experience with a blast. We'll do it in a very humbling way, but we really want to, so we have expertise in communications blended with faith, and we'll want to bring some answers. So there'll be a moment, so Christina will start, I'll then make a little presentation, but then we'll take a lot of time to try to answer your needs, not in theory, but very concretely. So thank you very much. I'm so happy that I took the road from Quebec City yesterday. I've met Christina during World Youth
Christina.
Day. I said Christina is the name of my wife. And I met Christina during World Youth Day as well.
Yeah.
And we don't see each other that often, so it's an opportunity for us to give you a complimentary message. And so thank you for being there and for your attention.
Yeah. So good afternoon again, and I will just start with a confession. I'm very involved at my parish. All of you are too. Some of you are in full-time ministry, some of you are priests here, some of you are volunteers. We've all got a lot of pots on the stove, right? So we don't pretend to have all the answers. We all are, have a lot of responsibilities in our parishes and so on. I'm actually a little bit involved in communications at St. Willibrod's, but a lot of my volunteer efforts at St. Willibrod's are family ministry and running the Bible camp and catechism and things like that. So there's not a lot of time to do some of this. So we have a lot of good ideas. Sometimes it's hard to activate all of them, but we'll at least raise them. So I don't pretend to be an expert in that St. Willibrod's is doing all of the right things. We're doing some of the right things some of the time. And we're sort of in a rebuilding phase at our parish, and I suspect a lot of us are here. That's why we're at the workshop. So at some point, it would be good to make communications an important priority at your community. But you can only, start new, so many new programs at once. So just start with that. So what I thought I would do is there's so much wisdom in this room, and I actually made a joke. Eric DeRoche is here. I said, oh no, Eric's in my workshop. I have the student has the teacher in the workshop. so we certainly, have a lot here that we can all learn from each other, and Jasmin and I included. So what I would start with are, what are some of the objectives that we would have in getting the news out? Maybe I'll just open that up. Does anybody have any ideas?
Reaching Tim of Timonium, the example he gave Thursday night at the keynote speech, they called the unchurched or de-churched in their community Tim.
Okay, reaching Tim.
I think he used the analogy of Mark in Montreal, or something.
Okay.
Right? So for us it would be reaching Mark.
Yeah, and Mark, there are a lot of different kinds of marks, right? So we'll talk about that later when we talk about Publix.
Do you have a stronger colored pen? I can't see that.
I know, and I was supposed to, oh, look, there are markers right here. This is the kid, out of the kids' marker collection. So let's see if this red will do a better job. Objectives. Reaching Tim, so we all know what that means. Okay, well, and I wasn't at the keynote, so I have another confession to make. So, Montreal Mark. Mark in Montreal. And actually, I mean, we'll talk about that more in the publics, but there's not really like one sort of mark in Montreal. There are many sorts. Anybody else? Any other objectives we would have in getting the news out? No?
Just communicating within our own parishes what's going on in our own parishes.
Very good. Internal communications, we would call that. Okay. Anybody else? I saw another hand over here.
I was just going to say the same thing, just not take it for granted that the parish knows about what's going on inside.
Yeah, they don't know.
So,
Yeah. They don't know, so that's a good one.
I'd like to make the message stick.
Yeah. Key messages, maybe? Some,
Make it stick.
make it stick. Recall. That they, yeah. Okay, I think another thing to underline, of course, is what is our mission as the you know, our baptismal call is to evangelize and bring people to Christ, right? So that's certainly, and I think that reaching Tim, you know, speaks to that. So I'd say it's, you know, number one, it's evangelization, right? And then everything sort of flows from that. To evangelize, you know, you have to have money to pay for the build, you know, to pay the heating, to bring people in. You have to do faith education. You have to do all, you know, those things. You have to have some kind of community life there, you know. I think those are good objectives. Another one could be to, I think this is a big one for us, especially we don't have confessional schools anymore. Those are sort of natural networks that we would get the news out. Just to raise the flag of our parish and the community. People actually know we exist. I know at St. Willibrod, we're just off Wellington Street. That's the main drag in Verdun. And on, on Willibrod Street, a lot of people, they walk by, right by our street, and they have no idea that there's this big church there. And it's amazing. So just to, you know, just say we're here. So, you know, our presence. We're here and what we have to offer. A lot of people don't even know that we're there. Anybody else have another objective?
Just opposite to the internal communications is how do you communicate to the other churches and work with the other churches in the area?
Other Catholic churches and other Christian churches? Yeah, other churches. Okay. So those are some good objectives, I think. Does anybody have anything else? Jasmin, do you have anything else? No? Okay. That's objective. And then, let me just go to my notes here. We want to talk about publics. So publics are basically audiences. So somebody mentioned here internal, so our parishioners, right? Who are other publics we would want to reach? External, right? So I would say like sort of a larger group of our parishioners are the ones that come at Christmas and Easter, right? Like the occasional. So there's like the occasional parishioners. Pardon me?
ENCs.
Yeah, C&Es. Yeah, there you go. What about parents with children of sacramental age? That may fit into these two categories as well. Maybe some,
Youth.
Youth. Yeah, that's a big one in marketing right now, right? If you're not talking to millennials and young people, you have no future, right? So it's a very important one. I would say too, just broadly our neighborhood, right? Our community where we live. Which also, in our reality in Montreal, includes people of different languages, right? So when we're thinking of communications, we have to think beyond English, right? Like where we are, where maybe 10% of the population is Anglophone. So we're not reaching 90% of the people out there if our materials are only in English on our website and so on, which it is right now. We're going to do something about that, though. Any other publics we want to?
Homebound people.
Shut-ins and homebound, yeah. Excellent. I think other Christians, other Catholics and other Christians from like neighboring parishes, other churches. So we could put like a French Catholic, our zone parishes, and other denominations.
Other faiths too?
Yeah, other faiths for sure. And I think I'll just try to squeeze it on here. Also, like municipal authorities, like we should probably have some kind of relationship with the mayor, with the local councillor, with the and local M&A, and so on. So put like authorities. Yeah, authorities, government.
One is kind of a subset of each
Right.
of those, but are there, depending on your neighborhood, those
Right.
people who are not plugged in? No computer, no.
Yeah, that's probably when we get into tools, talking about the different tools to reach them.
I would even add like the category of fallen away Catholics, those who used to go.
Yeah, occasional parishioners, and there's there's a term for that. Does anybody remember what it is? There's a whole coming home movement, right? It's a coming home to the church. We could put that under here. Former Catholics or nominal, former, nominal Catholics. De-churched. Okay, so we've got a lot of different publics here. If we were reaching all of these, boy, we'd be in business. Even if we were just reaching these guys, eh? Just our parishioners, if they knew everything that was going on and could be ambassadors, so we'd get to that. Okay. What is the news that we have? I mean, we have our good news, right? We have the good news. But probably, I'll put it with capitals, right? But probably the good news, probably the local community newspaper is not interested in, right? We have to identify the news that's relevant and accurate and so on for the different people that we're in contact with, the different publics. So for our parishioners, for sure, they're interested in the good news, they're there. And we want to bring that to people, but we have to build relationships and we have to, take it, one step at a time. What is the news that we want to get out of our parish? Anybody?
Our activities.
Our activities? By that, what kind of activities do you mean?
Well, we put on cafes and Bible studies, faith sharing groups.
Anybody else?
Probably related to that would be the ministries. The ministerial work.
What about some kind of community events too that maybe are easier, like icebreakers to invite, sometimes it's hard to invite our neighbor to mass, right? But we can invite them to a dinner or some kind of event. And then, and then at the dinner, then you can have, the pastor can say a few words and you can talk about other things going on in the community. Now they're in the building and now you can talk to them about some of those things. So we could put, fundraising dinners, social. I think faith education is a big one, right? We want the kids, we want the parents, for all ages, we want them to know what we're doing. What about some of our ministries to, like the neighborhood people in need, groups in need in our community? We want them to know too, right? That if we're doing Christmas baskets or we have, social justice.
The food bank and all that.
Right, food bank, or just put food bank, etc.
How about basic availability? When is the church open?
Mass times and adoration and
Simply like, when can you simply walk in and pray?
yeah. You could put here mass times and hours. And actually mass times is one of the things that's most Googled, right? It's a big one. I'm visiting, I want to go to mass. Where can I go to mass? It's a big one. Anything else?
You're welcome to everyone, so,
A welcome, a message of welcome.
You don't have to be a denomination
right.
or anything.
All are welcome.
All are welcome,
Great. Well, I think we've got a lot of news to share, right? So it's just a matter of lining it up. Who's this news for, and what are the best ways to get to those? So we're going to talk about tools. What are the tools that we have, communications tools to share? The parish bulletin.
The website where it exists.
The website.
Facebook.
Yeah, we can put Facebook. And I'll just put in brackets social, meaning social media. You know what's the most important one? It's person to person, our parishioners. If your parishioners will invite people to come to events, to come to your fall fundraising dinner, to come to a faith enrichment series. Wow, that will really get the word out there. And that personal invitation, people come, and even our own parishioners, right? If we call them and say, hey, did you know that such and such activity is happening? No, I had no idea. And it's been in the parish bulletin, it's been announced. They have no idea. That's the general, the general takeaway. They have no idea what's going on. And when somebody invites, it's really, really powerful. So we put here person to person. And under that, invitation. What else do we have?
An outside bulletin board or electronic
Excellent.
board?
Excellent. Outside bulletin boards.
Or electronic board.
So at Jean Coutu, at the grocery store, it depends. They're not all going to be open to it. But especially we have to decide, what our message is too. A lot of them will put, if it's of service to the community, they'll put it up.
Newspapers?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, local newspapers, and also related to that, local online news or pages, because a lot of them are pages now, like Facebook pages. Anybody else?
The grapevine.
The grapevine, yeah, like the diocesan church communications, right? Excellent. We'll put here grapevine. And then email, like email blasts. Yeah, and then we've got a lot of tools here. We've got also telephone chains or telephone trees. There's some legislation and sort of confidential information to be considered, but it's not impossible to set it up, so that, you could even take your pastoral council or whichever group and say, each person has 10 names, and those are the 10 names you have for the year. Make sure you call these people whenever there's an event happening. That can really work. Yeah, mail, direct mail. We've got external signage at the church. We've got pamphlets, right? That everybody can have pamphlets. You want to know what's going on in the community? Here's a pamphlet. And you can even, give that to parishioners to give out to people when they meet new neighbors or whatever. We've got also people in the community. I'm thinking of a very specific case in my community. There's a woman who's very plugged into the community. She's one of our parishioners. She knows just about all the young families in the area because she gives actually a CCS playgroup activity that she leads. Well, if you feed her all the information, well, then she'll disseminate it to all the young families that are coming to her playgroups. So there are people like that. So people in the community. And you've also got other church tools. And by other church, I mean other churches, like your local Francophone parishes, their Facebook page or their website or their bulletin. Your Anglican church neighbors materials as well. Often, put it in ours and we'll put it in yours, and that kind of give and take.
Community resource guides too for youth
Yeah.
and seniors.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they're directories that they put out, like in our area, they put them out once or twice a year. Community directories. Any other tools? Any we missed out on? No? So I just want to tell you a few little anecdotes, and I'm going to turn it over to Jasmin. And that's another thing. When you don't know, ask somebody. when you want to do something, there are a lot of people in your community, in your network, and your friends, even if they live in other cities like Jasmin in Quebec City, you can call on them. They're willing to help. A lot of people want to help us build the church, build the kingdom of God. So just ask them. There are probably people sitting in your parish that are graphic designers, that are writers, that are, even if there are other professions that have a certain knowledge, like a lot of young people, great way to involve young people. Can you animate the Facebook page? We'll give you certain parameters, and that's something that all of us who are not pastors want to keep in mind too. Just the whole who's speaking for the parish, and do they have the authority, and do they have the has there been a review process that the pastor or other people in charge of a certain ministry or activity are aware that you're putting this out there. So just make sure you're mandated. And then I wanted to tell you about, something that happened recently in my parish. Is we had our fall fair. It's our largest fundraising event for the year, so it's very important for us. Not for evangelization, but it could be. We had a nice welcome table. We're meeting a lot of people. We're certainly taking the advantage of all those people coming into our building to tell them what's going on. But it's very important to get the people out and to raise the funding because we really depend on that for our year. So I took it upon myself. I'm going to call all my families on my Bible camp list. I'm just going to blitz call them and make sure that they know about it and some other activities that were coming up, our faith education program that they know when the next date is and so on. And so I called. You're probably not going to be surprised by this, but quite a number of them had no idea what I was talking about. Fall fair? What's the fall fair? What happens there? When is it? And I was talking to a man who's a father, very committed Catholic. He's been going to our church for at least 10 years. He has 2 kids. He comes every Sunday. He had no idea what I was talking about. It's been announced at Mass umpteen times. Not only that, it's an annual event. It happens every year. It's been happening every year for 30 years. No idea what I was talking about. That sounds fun, and what do you do there? And I said, yeah, and the kids will have fun. We have Children's Village, and you can come and take the night off cooking and have supper for $4. Oh, well, I'm in. And he came, and he brought us his family, and he enjoyed it. And I think that that's very revealing. We need our parishioners to know what's happening. Our parish bulletin, our announcements are not, there's certain tools, they do a certain basic, but we need to make sure that our parish know what's going on. And if they all know what's going on and they can be ambassadors and going and doing outreach and telling other people, wow, if we could do that really well, we wouldn't even need to worry about some of the other things. Another thing that happened is that that same fall fair event, I thought, I'm going to put that on Facebook. Not only am I going to put that on Facebook, I'm going to share it on, and this is something that's happening more and more. There's a community page in our community of Verdun on Facebook. It's called Découvrir Verdun, Discover Verdun. And they put bilingual posts, and it's sort of a collective of all different kinds of things going on in Verdun. I don't know who runs it. I suspect perhaps a real estate agent. There's sometimes real estate listings, but they promote all kinds of things, and they have a lot of people following them. They have something like 5,000 or 6,000 people following this page. So I'm going to share it there, English post and a French post. Well, my French post got shared like 40 times, and it reached 3,200 people. And I know there were people at our fall fair that had seen that because I'd heard that's an amazing resource there, and it doesn't cost anything to put it in there. Another thing that I would just share with you, and that's my last anecdote, I'm turning over to Jasmin, is that when you have something interesting happening in your parish, visually interesting, a photo, it could be all kinds of things. Maybe Advent and Christmas are coming up. Maybe you have the children performing a Christmas pageant or Christmas carolers going out. Those are all great photo opportunities. So if you can think in terms of photo opportunities, those are things that the local area newspapers are always looking for. And if you give them enough warning, they'll come. They're starving for that stuff, to be in touch with the community and get a nice photo. We told them about an event that was happening last year. It was a Filipino cultural event that was a fundraiser at our parish. We made the front page. They not only came and sent a photographer, we made the front page. Because if you supply them with something that's relevant and that meets their needs in the right time, so community papers, usually Thursday, Friday is a good time to contact them, and email and then phone. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Jasmin, who has all kinds of best practices and case studies.
I met him. It happened to be a guy who used to do radio in Quebec City when I was in elementary school. He was looking jokes. I remember we're having tapes of him, laughing, and now suddenly he is an atheist, and he wants kind of militant and everything. And talking with him, I can see that his influences are Christopher Hitchens, Richard Dawkins, and so and so. And I could feel, that he was gung-ho about it. Finally, I can meet someone that I can talk with and show him that, believing in God, it's nonsense and everything. But we had so much fun after the show. We had dinner time with the production team and everything. And happened to be the only Catholic being there, and there were 4 atheists. So it was during 2 hours, it was blessed one after the other. And at one point of the evening, I asked Michel Morin, and I can say, Michel, when was the last time you you had a conversation, intelligent conversation with a Christian or a Catholic? I don't remember. His sole information about our faith and everything was through books and internet. And internet, you know, I love the World Wide Web and everything. But he was thinking, I got all the information in the world. But he had got all his niche and everything. And suddenly he was in a relationship with someone who could argue with him. I didn't tell him I got all the answers, not at all. But, you know, I'm from a faith that, you know, loves reason. And so it just, and I'm finishing this little bracket to tell you how important it is to enter in dialogue with the world, because suddenly we've got people who think they know it all, but when they enter in relationship with us, they're thankful. And I don't know, you'll see in 2015, he will launch his book. It will be big, it will be in French, so thank goodness for you. You won't have, it won't have that much impact for you. But it's promising for me. I think that I'll meet him 1 second. So, first of all, I want to thank you very much, because when I got the call from Christina, not Justina, my wife, I was thinking, okay, well, I'm going to talk about parish communications. What is my involvement in my parish? Because, you know, I've been working for the church for quite a few years now, and I'm always saying to myself and my wife, you know, I promise, you know, no, not so much volunteering outside of the diocese, you know, because I'm working all of those long hours, you know. So usually my volunteer is other things. I'm on the board of directors of a toy library and things like this, so nothing to do with the church. And I said, well, I could, you know, I could do something still, you know, because as I'm sure it is a reality for a lot of you, I was thinking for myself, well, it's too much for me, you know. If I put my foot in the door, you know, they'll ask me, you know, Jasmin. But beginning to study and getting back to the knowledge of some of my friends, they said, well, it's doable if I'm not on my own, if I am with a team. So before going and tell you about best practices and everything, because it's very funny, I believe in providence, and in a matter of days that I received your call, I've got a friend of mine who is the director of communications for the Diocese of Boston. And in Boston right now, I don't know if you happen, in 2002 and 2000, they hit a low, you know, with the pedophile scandals, and it was terrible. But with Cardinal O'Malley, not just with him, you know, it's a team. There's a renewal happening in Boston. It's fantastic what's happening. Vocations, you know, lay ministry involvement and everything. And Scott just launched a book, Transforming Parish Communications. And the heart of this book is that every parish needs to have a new media commission or committee, and it needs to be with new people. Because our big problem in parishes is that the volunteer base always the same. But suddenly, when you're talking new media, and you'll see, I'm talking new media because it can be a catalyst to bring new people. Because if you're asking people, you know, well, we need some people to work on the parish bulletin and to our diocesan, our ad in the diocese website, or, well, it's the same old thing and everything. But if you are launching a new media commission, committee, the name is not so important, and you introduce it as something brand new, and we need the help of new blood, and we won't just ask the people attending Mass on a weekly basis, but we're going to say, okay, you know people in our community that are experts or are very good at websites, social networks, and everything, and they're always on the fence about practicing on a weekly basis, but still, you know, they are coming from time to time, and they will give on a yearly basis to the parish collection, and to find one way to be useful, they'll say yes. So I'm not kidding. So I called my parish and I said, you know what, and on top of it, my parish is having it's not a fusion, but two parishes blending together on January 1st. So during the Christmas masses, there's something special that will happen. You know, we've got an occasion. So I've knocked on the door of my pastoral team and I said, listen, I feel called, you know, it's been 5 years that I'm here. I want to help, but I want to help to build a team. So next week, at every Mass at Saint-Benoît Abbey at my parish, I'll make a little presentation to say, calling for new blood. And we'll have, of course, in the parish bulletin, this. We'll send as well to our local newspaper the fact that there's a parish looking for expertise and really presenting it like we're not desperate people looking, but there's something special happening. There's a core group of people that wants to impress. There's a moment, you know, this blending of two communities. So do you want to help? And we'll give some flyers so that the grandma, the uncle, and everything who can go see the nephew, the niece, and saying, well, you know, you're good at it. You know, do you want to? There'll be a meeting. Show up. You don't have to. You just need to show up. You'll see. If it's not your call, you don't have to. So bringing this new team, because otherwise, what I'm going to say, you know, is, who's going to do this? You know, same person. It's going to be me. You know, of course, I'm here at the parish Vitality Parish conference, so I'll be the one, you know, having to do all of this. No, you don't have to, and I beg you not to do it. Bring a team with you. Bring new blood. So once you've got this this group, you'll be able to tackle. So what I'll do is that I'll give you, this is my personal opinion on the thing that you mentioned yourself. I'll tell you what I think about it, what kind of investment you should do in this. And it's not gospel, it's my vision, but I hope that some of it you'll find interesting. I want to start with, do we have billboards, outside billboards? Outside bulletin and everything. Well, I'll begin to. Boom, boom, boom. So, at our parish, we're close to the local school, elementary school. And I don't know for you, but of course we've got bylaws, and we cannot put, you know, structures and billboards everywhere. But at the same time, you know, this is based on complaints. If nobody complains, usually they'll leave it. And we, this is an example of my own parish, my own church. But what we're saying to people is that if you've got an occasion, and it's a temporary structure, use this opportunity to make yourself known. I know many of your parish got one kind of structure when they'll change. And, well, when it's the beginning of the year, we make sure that at the three corners where the most traffic is, there'll be a poster like this, so that it's there for 2 weeks. We're not bothering people, but you won't miss it. There's catechesis. Inscription is until September 23rd. And we're kind of bold, so we've asked for a long time. The school was offering parents, so they were putting, at the end of the day, the information for catechesis to every kids. Well, it's history. Huh? But we said, could it be fine if on the billboard, when you enter school, there is a billboard that you put a poster, and there'll be handouts, so a little kind of bag with. And we've done it, you know, in a very kind manner. And the director said yes. And you know what? Those little flyers, they disappeared. I think we had to go 4 times, put them back. And we beat, you know, we've got more than 100 kids in those catechesis. And we have a very nice relationship with the school that I think was built with mutual trust, where the catechists can go and during dinner time,
or at the end of school, take from school, so we're privileged. And it won't happen with every school. But my point is, if you do not ask, you'll never get it. So ask. And this is an example of a relationship between a parish community and a school. But this is true for so many things. It will be so true with local media and everything. So billboards, I love them. They are easy once you have a basic structure, and you'll always find a handyman or handy woman who will be super happy to make the structure. You can reuse it. You can put it at the important time of the year. And worst case scenario, someone complain. If you're lucky enough, they'll let you go and say, okay, leave it, just take it out. But in our experience, if you leave it just a few weeks, people understand. And it's not like, and at the same time, it's not like in-your-face evangelization, you know, like you would see. It's not the Westboro Baptist Church messaging, okay? Not this. It's very kind of Catholic invitation, welcoming. And, so, parish bulletin. In Quebec City, it's still, you know, 2 printers that got most of the business. So basically, it costs nothing to the community. The printer is getting the advertisers, and it's one model. It's very, very old. It didn't change in a long time. For many parishes, they're saying, well, we don't have time, we don't have the volunteer resource to do something different. And I would say this is not my top priority. Like, you'll see, you know, something that will go through all of this presentation for a very long time, and I'm sure the keynote address on Thursday said the very same thing. 80% of our work, if not 90%, was to, you know, our practicing Catholics, and we try to gather to them the best we can and everything. But we need to shift completely. And our work, our communication work especially, should be 80% towards the people outside of our circle. So, because it's all about priorities. In a perfect world, you know, we would put all of the efforts in the parish bulletin as well. And it's important to have a good committee to have. But is it my priority? No. You know, you need to go to a few other things before having the parish bulletin. But in the new media committee, you might find that there's someone who, you know, he would have not come just to work on the parish bulletin, but since, you know, it's part of a few responsibilities and everything, well, why not? And, you know, it's a good group and everything, so I'm not saying it's a Trojan horse, this committee, but it's just opening the eyes that, oh, maybe I've got some gift, maybe I've got some talent, I should give back in a certain way and everything. So, parish bulletin, in time, if you've got a good resource, but not the top priority. I will want to go next to local newspapers. I'll tell you another story. With Iraq and Syria, what happened over the past few months, terrible. There's a local community, l'Église Saint-Sacrement in Quebec, who in August, you know, we could hear, it was in July that in Mosul, you know, all of the Christians had to flee. The Islamic State were putting, you know, a sign, this very sign, the N for Nazarene, for Christians, so on the doors of every Christian. So we said, well, let's do something simple, an event, but that will draw people, so a Mass for Peace. It didn't take a lot. They got the sign. They print a few hundred copies. They sent a press release. And it drew in Quebec City a lot of interest because people got a lot of it. You know, media, they are tough sometimes for the Christians, the Catholics, faith in general. But they've got expectations. And they know that within the Christian community, there are agents of peace. So when we show that there's a community, even if it's far, far away in Iraq, but we will gather. So we're the first in Quebec to kind of gather together. So all the media, not only the local media. And it was, for me, I was so happy to see that there is a parish community who challenged us, the diocese. Super simple. We took this picture at the end, the full community, and people were just happy to be part of something special. So when you've got a good event, and of course we've got our usual events, and they are important to find from time to time space in our local media. And I'll come up with my earlier idea, knock on the door. Ideally, if you do it, once a season, 4 times a year, when you ask, you send, a picture, or you invite a local media. But even if they don't show up, I'm sure you know it. Always good, take a picture, because often they're begging for content. And they are crowd pleasers. They want the local newspaper, they want everybody to love them, and so that they will come. So, and they don't like to reject people that often. So personally, what I like to do is that do not hesitate once a month to send them something, because they'll maybe say no 1, 2, but thanks to the 3 times that, we said no twice, to this community. 3 times, they'll feel guiltiness. So the rule is that if you ask, and that's, on average, if you've got 1 out of 4, still, it would be great if you're doing it a short thing, 1 picture about something, what had happened 12 times a year, and you get the 3 mention over a full year period. Well, great. 3 times the full community will be aware that in this parish there is some life. And you might be, and some years, and you always look to the long run. Some years you might have just a few publishing of your story, some other years. But what's most important is to take the phone, because just emails with media, it doesn't work. Even on my job, they are flooded. If you would see the number of emails, and all good people with very good reasons to get printing. But if you call, they recognize the voice, and there's a familiar voice. I always suggest that it's a very same person. So they'll know, okay, hello, Judith. And the 3rd time you call, and it's, Judith, yeah, I'm sorry, I said, no, okay, yes. Because personal relationship, that's what drives, everything. So have someone who has the smile in a voice person of your community. Get to call your local newspaper. And there might be a few no, but at the end there'll be some yeses. Sorry? No, when this is PR.
It's called earned media. Earned media or paid?
Yes. Because there's the other part, when you want to pay, should you pay to get space in your local newspapers? I'm saying that you should have a budget for at least once a year. Because there's content, of course, they will never print the schedule of your catechesis at the beginning of the year. That's not their job to do. But you want the broad community to be aware of. And I think you've got a story.
I didn't show this, but this is, if anybody, I don't think anybody's here from St. David's or Mary Queen of Peace.
For the mic?
Yeah, cheers. St. David's and Mary Queen of Peace took out an ad. This is the ad. This is about a quarter of the page in the West Island Gazette, I believe. Yeah, the Chronicle. So, Jasmin, you do that all the time at dioceses with parishes. I think it's not expensive. It's a few $100s maybe. But to put it into your budget, that maybe at a few moments during the year, They put it in for their faith education program for kids. We can put it in to announce what you're doing during Advent and Christmas, and during the Lent and Easter period.
I kind of always thought it was something that was often read in the paper, that you can actually put something in there because you're a church.
Less and less.
Really?
No, you're a group, and it all, if you introduce something that it's really faith-based, of course you'll have trouble, but you need to find activities, events that are bridges. And there are a lot. When you look at it, there are countless opportunities. And Christmas, it's a fantastic one, because Christmas has become more and more a cultural celebration, but we know that it's the birth of Jesus Christ, God incarnated. So even if they just want to show, oh, it's season greetings and everything, well, we'll be there to give some sense, to give some spirit to it. So there are some moments. So basically, if you spend, I don't know, every weekly's got different pricing, but with $500, you can get a decent space. If you can afford to do it only once, do it once, but do it good at the beginning of the pastoral year in September. But if you can do it for Christmas and Easter, do it too. It's worth it. And of course, put some money to, or find in your new media commission someone who's good with graphic design. Because you're sending, if you're saying, well, you know, and often, you know, the people in the local newspapers, oh, we'll do it for you. We've got great people, we'll do it. Well, no. You need to find the right person, and you need to have a group that'll say, yes, nice visual, nice, and it doesn't have to be like the big corporate ad, but still, a little bit of a flavor of your community. And if on top it's signed by, not signed, but it's done by someone from your community, it's fun because you can say to your community, well, thank you to Bridget, thank you to John, who you've seen this week this ad, so people, the person who've done this on a volunteer basis, you hope that on a volunteer basis, but sometimes it's good to pay too. It's all about, you know, priority, and you'll see some people can afford to do volunteer work, some don't. So it's on a case by case basis. So email blast. You've got Christmas coming very soon, and if you don't have yet your email list, I'm watching you in the eyes, okay? You cannot go through the next Christmas masses without asking for the emails. Now you'll say, oh, people want it. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to live. Well, some people won't, and that's fine. But you'll be surprised of how many people, when asked nicely, in a very nice setting, this is Christmas after all, you can build very nice critical mass of people who, you know, especially if you tell them, you know, the frequency. It's not something that has to be every week. And actually, to kind of start something at the beginning, I'm going by every 2 weeks. So it's not something, oh, every week. There's something mentally, every week I'm going to receive something, boo. And to start with, for your new media commission, it's giving time to, so you start every 2 weeks, something will be sent. There'll be a vacation during the summer. You don't have to do it year long. And you will send some of the information. And of course, if someone wants to drop from the list at any time, they'll do it. And you remind them, you know, it's not because you put, and anyway, you'll follow the new regulations that we have in Canada since the beginning. But when you're starting something, it's much more easier that all of the people that add newsletter list and had to send again to get the confirmation that people want. And maybe you've got already, I'll go just because of the filming with the mic, we'll do the question after. But remember it, please. So where I was, sorry, I was stuck in my email blast. Sorry. No, it's my fault. So go and have young people collect at the end, because the email sign up. It's a big difference if it's young people, because you kind of feel that you've got young people in my community that are there to take the time, and they don't have to. They'll be tabled. People sign by themselves. You can, as well, in the parish bulletin, leave an email address where if someone, for any reason, the turkey, is burning and they need to run off, that they'll be able to leave. And for the next few weeks, you collect this. And this is very simple to implement. Now, I suggest you've got a few weeks now. You can start your new media commission before, or you can start on the edge of Christmas. You can say that you're looking, oh, by the way, it's Christmas. We're looking for new blood and everything. I know that at Christmas there's tons of messages and everything, but even if you're doing it on a more kind of official way in another mass during the year, which I think is a good idea, because at Christmas time it can be lost, do it still at Christmas, because you've got all of these people that you'll never be able to get another time. So, and people have time. These people, well, unfortunately, they will spend a lot of time reading the parish bulletin during the Christmas Mass. We don't want to, but so they'll get the information anyway. Outside bulletin, person-to-person invitation, Facebook. Okay, Facebook, social media. In your new media commission, that's the easiest task to give, and you can give it to young people. The young people are better than me, it's the millennials, it's their generation, and don't be afraid to give responsibilities and accountability to the young people, because often you say, oh, he's only 19, you won't give him, the full. If he's pushing the wrong button, if he's answering this. Well, giving a frame, and so what? If he makes one mistake, your parish won't crumble and everything. So you give some, and they'll be so happy. Say, well, you trust me? You trust me to do this? And you might be very surprised. And of course, it's always better when you've got a team working on it, not just one person. You always pray that the good workers are showing up. And maybe at the beginning you'll have one person, and you'll support this person, but Providence usually because you need one person. If there's one person that has the passion in your community, the other people will come up. This person might be you. It might not be you. You're not called. We all have our charisma, but we need to be able to point to that person. Parish bulletin, website. We didn't talk about website. I'll go to, because I'll touch on the other with some of the websites I wanted to show you in my presentation. So, oh, by the way, as Christina told you, all of the links that I've got here, you will receive them by email. So you don't need to write them.
We're going to send you an e-blast.
Yeah. So what's great about the book by Scott, Transforming Parish Communications, there's a website, and basically he's putting all of his resources chapter by chapter on it. So just going through the chapters, you'll have, it's an incredible toolbox. I love it. You'll go through this, and if you like it, buy the book. But just with this, you've got enough information to really help you out as you are trying to start a new media commission, trying to find examples of websites and everything. So I won't go into the details, just have a look after our presentation. And yeah, there's an example of charter of new media outreach commission. It's great. I don't know if you've heard in the news, the Archdiocese of New York made a very bold news. It was about a month ago. They basically said to all of their parishes, we've got a partnership with two great Catholic companies, eCatholic and Flocknote. eCatholic, this is a web design company, and Flocknote, it's, well, I'll show you to, so you've got eCatholic and you've got Flocknote. Flocknote, it's a system of, you know, all of the MailChimp instant contact of this world, but that's a Catholic one, Catholic base. They're doing emails and texting, because more and more said, oh, texting, I'm going to get into texting. That sounds, but it's not so complicated at all. And I wouldn't tell you to start with texting. I think you can implement a good strategy just with emails, but you might be mature enough or at the stage where you'll go into texting. My point is, if the Diocese of New York decided to offer, and basically what they're saying to their parishes is that we made a deal with those two companies and you've got the service for free. That's very bold. And of course, there is right now, and they're asking every parish to submit a champion. So Cardinal Dolan, you'll have a look, it's pretty interesting. So you've got Cardinal Dolan trying to, because of course, many parishes in New York got their own website. And suddenly you're saying, well, would like to have something. They're not forcing anybody, but we've got something we want to offer you, and we hope that you will. There are tons of, because I don't know, your website might be good, might be terrible. You might find in your new media commission the perfect volunteer who will do it for free as a volunteer. You might not. There are resources. I'm suggest, as the Archdiocese of New York done, what I like about Catholics, it's their pricing. So it works as a monthly fee, and everything's included. You've got starter packages at $20. It is US, but still, it's giving you a kind of mid-range at $35 and a premium package at $50. And it's really it's so intuitive. If New York made such a bold commitment with them, trust me, it's because it's good. So it's not the only solution out there, but if you're looking for something, again, for microphone, we'll.
I gave the talk this morning on reaching your parish needs.
Yeah.
And I also recommended the e-Catholic and Flocknote.
They're an endorsement.
Fantastic. So I'll finish to talk about the Flocknote. I'll go straight to the. I'll send you there's a website called Catholic Tech Talk. It's great because they've got all sort of suggestions, tips. They've got, parish website contest winners so you can compare it. And they made, and I encourage you to do it, it's a Rate Your Church website. So you'll do it. You'll see, if you need some work or not to help you out. You'll receive the...
It's not a public one, it's a checklist.
Yes, of course. If you want after that to call your local media. Yeah, if you want to call your local newspaper and make it... no, I don't think so. You've seen you might been at the keynote address of Church Nativity, what they rebuilt. So that's the website of the Baltimore Parish, Church of the Nativity. I invite you to have a look at it because it's very interesting. They choose, I call it the concept of disruption. They went, usually parish websites, they don't look at all like this. They went super simple, and sometimes simple is best. Have a look at it. You might have some inspiration, and their Facebook page, very well done as well. There's Rebuild coming from Baltimore, but in Canada, my best practice kind of, I don't know if you know Father James Malone. He's a great priest out of Halifax. He made this, he wrote this book called Divine Renovation, From a Maintenance to a Missional Church. It's as good as Rebuild. I highly encourage to watch it. His website is fantastic, and the parish website is fantastic too. And it's pretty bold what he's doing. So every Sunday, he is filming the 9 a.m. Mass. He's putting it on a live stream. It's not that expensive to put on live stream something. And he said, you know, by putting it there, well, first they are, of course, the shut-ins. Well, you say the shut-ins, they've got on Vision TV or Salt and Light TV, they're mass and everything, but they're happy to be close to their community and everything. So they decided to invest and have their weekly mass on live stream. So of course there was an investment at the beginning, and I just want to show you an image because I think it's great. They had the baptism during this this mass. Come on, little baptism. Okay, so imagine all of the parents. This is so easy then to share because you're not sharing just mass. You're sharing to the cousin, the niece who's not going to mass, and said, oh, there's something. There was an event there. There was a community. You could see love. You could see the sacredness of something happening. Well, now, of course, that's not for everything. That's not for everybody to do something like this. But sometimes when you look at what's the best practice, like the people who put and that's not the biggest parish in Halifax by far, but they decided to invest in some element, and they reaping fruits right now, I'm telling you. I'm going fast because I want to give time to answer your questions. Paroisse Saint-Joseph de Lévis in the South Shore of Quebec. Every year when they're asking for the fundraising campaign, they put as much effort as bringing a volunteer base. As much effort. And this is the community that is striving the most because they're really pushing for the bénévolat, volunteering, and it's paying off. So when you have your fundraising campaign, ask for commitment from people. You're surprised. There's always people that you'll never expect that will arrive. Saint-Charles-Borromée, they decided, I was talking about bridges. So they've got an event with teens every Friday nights. It's called Sortir de chez toi. So go out from home, from your home.
Get out of your house.
Get out of your house. Thank you, Christina. And it was covered, and there's 40 young people, and you know how the teens, 12 to 17, it's tough sometimes to reach out. And the local media covered this because, and this is like super religious, but if a parish that succeeds to get young people and everything, so you've got events will help you to reach out people. You'll have a link to the best festival. There's a community who's doing a festival, and there's all sort of activities, volleyball, a little marathon, and at the end, there's an outdoor mass, beginning of September. Local media love it, and people stay for mass. Not everybody, but lots of people stay for mass. And last thing, you might have in Montreal some secular website for all of the events what are happening in the city. Usually they tell you, well, we won't cover faith-based things, but again, when you ask, you might be surprised. In Quebec, the big one is Quoi faire à Québec. And for All Saints Eve, so Halloween, October 31st, there was a vigil, and it was Église Saint-Mathieu de Sainte-Foy. They knocked on the door. They said yes. So you had in the thread, the zombie walk and the All Saints Vigil, but the All Saints Vigil was there. And, I don't know how many people saw this, but still, we're there. And we need to take, for all the no's you're going to get a few yes. And I'm going to send you, because video, sometimes, I was showing you Father Malin who have camera, you can do amazing things with smartphones. And those little, because the problem with smartphone when you're filming is often sound. When you have a bad sound, not interesting. Those little microphone, it costs $120. And you've got great broadcast quality. So I'll show you, this is a great page because you've got all of the little device that could help you make short videos. Your youth ministry will have a blast with this. It won't cost you a lot, and it's super effective. Sorry, I took a little bit more time than expected because I wanted to give you, I hope you will forgive me. I wanted to give you